Welcome to another edition of Reptile Fight Club. Welcome, fighters. How's it going? My name is Justin Julander, and with me is my wonderful co-host, Chuck. Chuck, say hello.
Hello.
What is going on?
Not much. Working away.
Yeah.
Working away.
Oh, yeah, you had to work today, huh?
I did.
Saturday, man.
Yep.
What
is the world coming to?
Yep. Not working for me today. Well, except for the reptile room a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to come home and do some of that as well. I went and got a bunch of bugs, so I was like dishing out the bugs this afternoon.
Yeah. Right on. Went and saw The Batman.
I heard it was good.
Oh, it was really good. Yeah. Not sure if I don't know. It's hard to beat the Christian Bale Batman for me.
I agree with that.
Yeah, he did such a good job. Kind of ruined it for others, but
yeah,
Pattinson did all right. He did better than I was expecting.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah, definitely worth seeing. It's a long movie. We get Heidi. We sprung for the extra, the extra $2 for the seats that recline and are all cushy and heated, and that was a good move for that movie.
It was a good move, huh?
Yeah. An extra $2. Yeah, I'll pay that for a 3-hour movie.
I mean, I'm surprised as old as you are, you can stay awake that long.
Hey, man, you come herping with me, you'll see me stay awake.
Yeah,
I'll drive all night long.
Yeah, no. I got you.
Yeah. If it was, it was pretty. I mean, it kept your attention, so yeah,
that's good.
Good stuff. Yeah, I saw Casey Cannon recommended that he said that Pattinson did better than Christian Bale,
so.
I
think I saw that.
He kind of motivated me to go see it. So yeah,
nice
little day date with my wife. So we just us two. We didn't take any of the kids, but
nice.
Yeah, so it was fun. Yep, and just cleaning poop out in the snake room for me today, and cleaning mice and rats. Woohoo!
That's so glorious.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I mean, this is what makes us rock stars in the reptile world, dude.
Exactly.
Shit scrapers. Yeah,
it's 90% of the job.
Yep. Yeah, it's the glamour. That's
Exactly.
When everyone's on Instagram showing off all that badass shit, remember what they really are is just a poop cleaner.
Yeah. Behind every great snake is a pile of dung.
A waiter and a plumber. They clean up the shit and they serve the food. That's all they do. Go. Yeah.
Well, I got a little thing in the mail today. It arrived today, so I was excited because we were going to record. So I figured I'd open it on air. But from Mr. Phil Wolf, the Wolf of Wheeler Eye. So
you got a package from the Wolf.
Yeah.
Oh,
he told me he was sending me something, and I'm like, what would he be sending me? And he said,
"You sending the Wolf? You feel better, motherfucker."
I don't know if I know that reference.
What?
But yeah.
What? You know who Winston Wolfe is, right?
Oh
my God, dude! You just fell a couple pegs in my book. That's Pulp Fiction.
Oh, I've seen Pulp Fiction. It's been a while.
Yes. Oh man, that's like one of the greatest movies of all time. The dialogue in that movie is like it cannot be beaten.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. I'll
okay. So don't ever do that again. Don't ever do that around.
I guess I don't know it well enough to quote it.
No. Yeah.
Simpsons I can do pretty well.
Yeah. See, I
Like, I guess we all have our faults, Chuck.
Yeah, we all have our shortcomings. Yeah, definitely not being able to basically finish my dialogue quotes of, and that wasn't even a good one, but
okay,
Well,
and Phil told me he was sending this like a week or two ago, and he gave me the hint of "stay thirsty," and I'm thinking, is he sending like some sweet lady DDP?
That does not look like Sweet Lady. Oh, that looks like Sweet Lady DDP. Always at your side. More of a faithful friend than your co-host, Sweet Lady DDP.
Got to keep this old man awake, apparently.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Unless maybe that is it. That maybe you're just like extra jacked. Maybe that is the thing that keeps you going. And you're just extra jacked on it. And when you're herping.
Keeps me driving late at night.
Yeah.
Anyway, he said stay thirsty.
Okay, so I'm sorry. I feel like I'm.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Open this. Let's do this.
So I'm trying to think what it could be, but I mean, it's
it's Christmas in March.
Large envelope.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Let's see what we got here. Oh, Phil, you good dude. All right, so we got some cardboard. It says do not bend, so we don't want to bend these apparently. All right, sorry. Okay, little note here.
If it's naked pictures of Phil, don't announce that.
No,
okay?
don't show that off.
Yeah, don't do it.
It's some cool stickers, man.
Oh, badass.
He says,
nice.
He says a blacktail sticker for my blacktail buddy. So we found our first blacktail together. So, nice. What a sweet little thing. Oh, there's some other ones here too. It's like a Willard eye and he's sent a Willard eye and looks like either a speck or there's one with the 3, the Willard eye and Klauber eye and Price eye. So that's cool. Some rattlesnake stickers. That's awesome. Man, this last year was a good year for rattlesnakes.
So the question is now, where cool. do those go?
Yeah, well, maybe that's what the stay thirsty meant. Maybe like on a hydro flask, because I've got my hydro flask with some pretty cool stickers on it. So,
was there a comment about your bear hydro flask or something? Was that the?
Well, I think I had my hydro flask in Texas, so maybe that's
the idea. This is why. Yeah. See, would you?
He threw me off the trail though. My brain just went straight to Sweet Lady DDP, but
right. Yeah. Well, we all know what permeates the synaptic membranes of Justin.
There you go,
Justin J. Julander.
What keeps me going. Yeah. Anyway, that's really cool, Phil. Thank you, man. What a nice thing. Good stuff. Yeah, see these herping buddies, man. They're the best, right? Do a herping trip with somebody and that's a really cool blacktail too. It's pretty fun.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like it. I approve.
Very nice. Good. That's some good stuff. Thanks, Phil.
That's good stuff.
All right. Well, anything else going on? I was I've got some crested geckos in my office at work, just kind of have them there for fun. I got them from Derek Dunlop back in like the
that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
He hasn't been breeding and selling lizards for a while now, for a minute. So he was a cool guy. He's out still adventuring though. Like I see all his posts from diving down in Florida.
He's gonna be that dude who just permanently travels.
I heard some great stories about him too from oh my gosh, my brain does not work well. The Gilpins, Andrew and Sarah Gilpin, they were telling me some pretty crazy stories about his adventures. Like he was hammocking in Africa and like came running back.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hammocking in Africa?
Yeah.
I'm unfamiliar. Please elaborate.
He had to, sleeping in a hammock in the night.
All right. It sounded like that's what was going on, but I don't know.
Yeah. It could be some weird term that I don't know.
Maybe it's where you just travel in a Speedo, like the banana hammock, like I don't know. I just want clarity.
I guess.
I want clarity.
Yeah, I better explain this. So he was gonna set up his hammock, right? And he had to kind of walk a ways to find 2 trees close to each other to string the hammock between them.
Makes sense.
So he's like, hey, I'm gonna go out here and find a place to put up my hammock. And they're like, all right, be safe, So he goes out there, and then maybe a half hour later he comes running back. He's like, guys, is it okay if I share the tent with you? And he said that he was setting it up and like he hears like elephants coming or something. There's like a herd of elephants and he hears like lions or, some crazy thing. Like there's lions and elephants very close by, he's worried that he might look like a burrito to him in the night or something. So, and he came.
That makes sense. You don't want to be a hammock burrito for an elephant or a lion. That would
forgive me if I got that wrong, but
that was good anyway.
It was very entertaining. They had some good stories, and they've shared a lot of adventures with Derek, and Derek's a good guy. Yeah,
fucking hammocking. Who knew?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I've really tried it. We bought a bunch of hammocks, but I've never really tried. We were gonna make Hammock Town in our backyard at the old house, but we got it kind of started, but never really finished. We got enough where we could set up 3 or 4 hammocks, and the kids would go out there and sleep outside at night.
That sounds like hammock mania.
Hammock Town. Yeah, we didn't get enough for the whole family to hammock out there, but so yeah.
That's a lot of. I mean, you gotta really think that through.
That's 7 hammocks.
There's got to be some postage to tie them up to, or you got to get one of those like those hammock, the frame things. I guess you could do it that way.
Yeah, I bought those and had some hammocks on the frames, and they were.
I like the laminated. Like you ever seen like the laminated ones that are they're like laminated plies, but they're like an arch of wood.
Oh yeah,
I think that's cool. Cool, yeah,
for sure.
Yes, I'm a fan of the hammock, but I did not know that hammocking as a travel option was a thing. Like youth hostel hammock. I didn't know.
a lot of people do that these days. And just take a hammock.
Well, and I mean, I'm aware that camping and people do like camping hammocks, but I didn't know that was hammocking. Like I didn't know that it was had become its own thing.
Maybe it's not. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but it sounded like the right thing to say. But
you sold me. I bought it. I mean,
people prefer those to tents, and sometimes.
I mean, I feel like
in our neighborhood that went out there.
You could whoop that up and just dude, hammocking, you don't even know what you're missing.
You've never heard of hammocking?
It's the best. It's best.
Yeah, this kid in our neighborhood went out, and he's kind of a smaller kid anyway, kind of bite size, but he went out hammocking in
bite size, like
Yellowstone, like small, like a small guy.
Yeah.
Not for
like Anthony Caponetto small or what?
Listen to the rest of the story. But anyway, he's out, in Yellowstone in his hammock, and all of a sudden he hears something sniffing at him, and he thought it was his dad or brother like playing a joke on him. So he's like, "Get out of here," And then he kind of peeks out, and there's a full-on bear sniffing him, like trying to figure out if So that's what I mean by bite size. He probably could have been eaten pretty quickly by a bear.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes more sense. Yeah. That makes more sense.
So you got to be careful out there, hammockers. This is a
bears eat people?
I mean, it's possible they may get mauled by him. I don't know if they eat him.
That's what I'm saying. Like you
probably wouldn't get the chance. Like he'd probably wake up his father.
You could definitely get handed your lunch by a bear, but are you lunch? That's what I want to know.
Well, there's that bear running rampant in California, right?
The big giant, fat one.
Yeah.
No, I thought they cleared him.
He has accomplices. He was definitely implicated in some break-ins, but they found out that it's not just him. He's got some helpers. There's a full-on bear.
It's a bear gang.
Bear gang. Yep. You got a gang of roving bears in California.
Freaking
crazy.
Russians are invading Ukraine and bears are breaking into houses. What in the hell is going on?
We think we get out of the woods out of the frying pan and into the fire, get clear of COVID to some extent. And then, good times. What a fun world, huh?
Keeps you on your toes.
It does.
All right. Well, enough with the buffoonery.
Yeah. Have you heard anything good lately on the podcast world? I don't know that I've listened. I've listened to other stuff lately. I was listening to This American Life this week instead of Reptile Podcast. So I haven't really listened.
Yeah, I haven't. I was listening to, I listened to a Carpets and Coffee, but it was one that I had already started. So I just finished it up. It was the most recent Carpets and Coffee.
Okay. I think I started that one as well at work, but
I started the Cloud King, and I got, like always at work, I got pulled away. So I haven't finished that, but I'm in the middle of that one.
The Venom Exchange.
Yeah. Yep. Sorry. Yeah. No, shout out Phil Wolf.
We chatted a little bit about that last time. I guess he's got a new one coming out. Well, tomorrow, but when is now, right? So,
soon.
Yeah, whenever you're listening to this, yeah. So, that should be available by the time you hear this. Their third installment of the Venom Exchange Radio. So, should be good. Dude from Africa. So
nice.
cool venomous over there. I've been watching that Tyrone Ping, his videos. I think I might have mentioned that, but I keep watching them. They're freaking awesome. That guy's he's the real deal, man. He's just got so many cool herp videos out, and South Africa has a lot of cool stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I love those tortoises over there, man. They've got so many cool tortoises in South Africa. Just crazy geckos and skinks, you know. It's pretty sweet. Cordelids, they're always fun. So
always fun.
I've been watching his videos and good times.
Any word on the book?
Yeah, so I've been going through. I've gone through all the chapters that I kind of was in charge of writing. Not to say that I wrote it all, but I would write the first pass, and then Nick would add stuff here and there if needed. And then same with the other chapters that he kind of took the lead on, I would add to. And so I've got all those. I've gone through all of them except for one, and put out the corrections for those. And so
nice.
So I think Russ has most of those corrections already put in. So I think he's got the intro and chapters 1 through 10 or so, or 12 done.
And how many chapters are we talking total? I
think there's 15 or 16.
Oh, we're so close.
I know. It's so very close. And he's been making the corrections to Nick's too. Nick's been putting in corrections as well. So I thought we were closer than we were. There's always something else, you know. I got to looking, and I started looking, you know, I'm going through with a fine-tooth comb now to look and see if there's any kind of misspellings or word usage issues or misplaced commas, things like that. And unfortunately, I'm finding quite a few of those things. So, you know, you never want there to be some glaring omission of a misspelled word, you know. So that's it's a process, I tell you. But we're on the 99 or the 1 yard line. We're getting close.
The 99-yard line? No.
I was thinking it's a 100-yard field, but I guess as you go closer to each end, it's a 1 yard line, right? So
you're about to get a touchback.
You know me. I'm not much of a football guy, I guess, but I watched 3 games this year. So
did you?
More than normal.
Who's your team if you had a team?
Well, when I was a kid, I liked the Rams. So that was kind of fun.
So are you stoked? Like, did you watch the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah, I watched that one. It was a fun game. That was a really good game. Good. Yeah, playoff games were a lot of fun too.
I don't really care about either of those teams, so I was like, I look at it like, well, dude, if the Bengals could have been in the Super Bowl, then the fucking Colts could have been in the Super Bowl. So screw this whole thing.
Yeah,
so, but obviously the Colts didn't make it.
You're a Colts fan then?
100%. Yes.
No Chargers? Not
really.
Not so
Chargers are. Their owner's a douche. The team, like Rivers, is a douche. Like the whole thing that happened between, you know, coming into Lucas Oil and starting shit, Phillip Rivers, and like it just left a bad taste in my mouth. And then you know, it was like, and you know, like I don't know if you've never been to a Chargers game, but like people complain about Raiders fans. I think Chargers fans are way worse. I've seen Chargers fans act like some of the biggest asshats ever.
Really?
Oh, for sure. And so my whole thing was like, forget the Chargers. Not even though it's, you know, I live in San Diego, like I'm not going to do it. And right when I was about to just be like, you know what? It's my hometown team now. I live here. They moved.
They ruined it for you.
See? What a bunch of idiots. I was right the whole time. So I just like, I gave up, you know, after that. I was just like, whatever. So,
well, we're kind of, I mean, Utah doesn't have a team, so we're kind of between Denver, you know, the
which is kind of nice because you can kind of play that orbital thing, you know, like.
Be a fair weather fan of a lot of different teams.
Nobody can be like, how can you not support your hometown team? Like, I have no hometown team, you know, like, so it's kind of nice like that. I think
we got the Utah Jazz, so I'm used to heartbreak, man.
There you go. Well,
I used to follow them pretty closely, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of time for sports. I'll watch the highlights on YouTube or something. That's about it. Yeah. It's a lot easier when you can spend 10 minutes of actual play time, you know. You can boil down a game into like 10, 15 minutes.
Just give me the cliff notes, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I just want to watch the action. I don't want to sit and watch them talk about it, But there's something to watch in a game. I think me and my wife are going to get season tickets to the Utah State Aggies.
Nice.
Kid from our local school signed to play with them.
Do
So
you get discounts or
I
anything?
don't get. I think we get discounts compared to just but we still have to pay quite a bit. Given the faculty, but that's all right.
It's because some colleges got to be raking, bro. Yeah, they're got to be raking that money.
We got to support those poor coaches, the guys that are getting paid, over $1 million to coach a, semi decent football, season or whatever. So or basketball.
Meanwhile, no player can get any monetary.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God forbid.
Yeah. Well, where the university knows where their bread is buttered. Although,
for sure,
I've brought in several $1 million in my research to the university. They're not, paying me like a coach. That's kind of lame, but what do you do?
You don't make it onto TV either.
Yeah. I'm one of the low guys on the totem.
And nobody's like, that Julinder, he makes me want to go to Utah State.
Yeah. All this talk of Fauci making money and it's like, do they even know how scientists live their lives? Scientists aren't rich. Give me a break. Oh boy. Anyway, so good times. Well, enough about sports. Enough about
other controversial things.
Payments to people. We can debate that on the local sports news channel.
All right.
We're here to debate reptile topics. What do you got for us today? What are we going to chat about?
I was thinking that we would talk about locality.
Okay.
How do we think about that? What do we think?
Localities.
Are we thinking about that?
Or breeding for localities, if that's a good
Sure. Is breeding localities
okay. I like it.
Positive thing, or is it a negative thing, or something like that? Something like that. What do you think? You like that?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it.
Okay.
If locality matters, or if you breed the species, you breed the species. Who cares what area of this it comes from? So
yeah.
All right. Well.
Yeah. All right.
Ready to flip a coin?
Yeah, let's do it.
Your luck.
Oh man, you changed the angle. Listen, folks, he just changed the angle of it. Look, he's got it. All right, let's go. Ready?
Okay, you see heads and tails.
It's a legit coin. Ready?
You can see everything.
Yep.
Ready? Call it.
It's tails.
It is tails.
See,
man, you're right.
I have this theory that you actually are probably a master of consistency, and that you actually put exactly the same amount of pressure into every thumb flip that you give. And therefore, by a consistency of rotation, you predominantly throw tails. And this strategy has seemed to work well for me. I'm waiting. So now I have driven the wedge into the wood, and now I'm wondering.
It's not as splitting, huh?
Well, now I think you're going to vary up your thumb strength. So now I have to consider throwing in the occasional heads, because
you showed your cards. Huh?
Yeah, well, I've kind of showed you your cards. I think. I don't know.
I think this is just your year. I don't think it matters what you call. You're going to win the coin toss.
I don't know, man.
This is the luck of Chuck year. All right. Well, what side do you want? Breeding localities, good.
Shit.
Breeding localities, meh. Who cares? Don't think too hard.
I'll take the breeding localities are good.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. All right. Well, I imagine you're deferring.
You know the drill.
Of course, you're deferring. Okay. Well, I guess I'd start out saying that, some species, there's not a lot of variability. So, you've seen one Australian olive python, you've seen them all. So who cares what, area they come from, or there's no diversity. There's no diversity in what they look like.
Phenotypical diversity.
Yeah, phenotypical diversity. You've seen one, you've seen them all, and they come from a fairly defined, contiguous range. There's no offshoots or whatever. So, does anybody care what locality their olive python is from?
Well, listen, I think that the west side olive pythons and the east side olive pythons would disagree with you, man. You know what I'm saying?
Up olive python gang signs. Is that the deal? But so yeah, maybe that's why I never got my olive pythons to breed and produce eggs, because they were from
one was Crippen and the other was the other one was a blood.
I do think there are some where locality probably isn't as important. You're not gonna. I would predict you're not gonna find some cryptic diversity in olive pythons that we're not aware of. But although Barron's olives, I guess there's that. But you're not breeding a Barron's olive. That's a different subspecies, so you're not necessarily breeding that. That's maybe a little more strong than a locality. But if there are unique enough areas of within the distribution,
but then does that matter where you fall along the taxonomic snootiness?
Well, I mean, it is recognized as a taxonomic distinction. So I would say that's not really a locality thing. That's more of a taxonomic thing. Whether you could agree with that or not is fine. But I mean, it's pretty, they're pretty unique out there, even though they look pretty similar. There's some distinctness to the Barron's olives versus the normal olives. So that's kind of how
locality type olive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so
I got you.
You've seen one olive, you've seen them all. That's kind of the argument I'd start with, I guess.
Okay.
What you got?
Well, I mean, I think you definitely see, if locality is or regionality is another way of saying locality. You could say that a lot of times you get kind of a certain phenotypical look and out of a locality. And if preserving a phenotypical look is something that you're kind of into, then locality makes a lot of sense. And I think, it's one of those things you got to kind of not separate out carpet pythons, but like carpet pythons make it hard because we can't, like a lot of times locality comes from a pair of locality animals, right? It's not like a group of animals, and there's no genetic diversity there. So, you're and I mean, maybe, that's not even the biggest deal either. Like, you can still breed stuff that's locality for quite a while before you run into issues. I think maybe breeding stuff that's like, let's say a Brisbane coastal to like a normal coastal, you still can kind of, I don't know, kind of like how you retain the word tiger when it's not really a tiger kind of a thing. I know that's kind of mixing, like we're kind of convoluting stuff by talking about a morph or a locale, but obviously, like, you get the point that I'm saying. Like you have these things that are tigers because they come from tiger lines, but they definitely don't have any traits of a tiger anymore. In the same way that you could have a Brisbane background coastal that obviously isn't strictly bred to a Brisbane, but it has Brisbane in its past. And maybe you distinguish them the same way. You say a Brisbane line, like you say a tiger line, rather than a Brisbane versus a tiger. You see what I mean? Like, you can kind of like differentiate them the same way.
It's true. And I think, welcome to my web, Mr. Fly. But anyway, like,
did I just trap myself?
I think you gave me great point. Yeah, because I think we do, we like to put things in a box. We like to say, this is how they look from this area, and when writing the Green Tree Python book, that became very clear that just because it's from a certain area doesn't mean it's going to have the exact same phenotype as others from that area. And you can have like, like a Maruki that doesn't have any white spots down its back, and it looks like something you'd find maybe further north or something. So, I mean, we do like to put things in a box, but a lot of times, and that was abundantly clear with the first edition of the carpet book, right? Like when I was doing research, I'm like, man, these things are variable. Like you can find something in the Cape York Peninsula that looks just like a Darwin carpet, and it's almost exactly the same. Sure. And phylogenetically, it probably is the same thing and should be the same thing. So, hint for future second edition. But those kind of things, make it difficult. And I think we get it in our heads that, oh yeah, if they're from this area, they look like this, but you could be very wrong. And there is a lot of diversity with certain species, not olive pythons, but surely many others.
I mean, I think you can look at rosy boas, and you could take like Otay Mountain, just because that's like, I live right near the Otay Mountains, and you can see like what I've seen in a captive Otay mountain rosy has kind of, and I see similar looks to other locale areas that are local, but you can also see wild pictures of rosies from the Otay range that look very different from that. So I mean, even in stuff that has more of a almost more of a concentrated phenotype for its range, and maybe is a little less variable, you still see variability. I think that's just that's a thing. And but also, if you're talking about coastal carpets and you're talking about Brisbane coastals, yeah, of course, not every coastal in the Brisbane area looks like what we see as a Brisbane coastal. Just there's a huge just like a lot of American jungles and Aussie jungles look very different, right? And there's other reasons for that, but
not all gelatins are black and white.
Right.
The majority aren't black and white, but we've got it conflated. We've got a conflation in our heads of locality equals a specific phenotype,
right?
And most of the time we're wrong.
and I don't think that's wrong. I think for us, a certain phenotype, it does mean locality, because we're looking at one phenotype from that locality, captivity. Right? Sure. And that is a phenotype in that in that region. So that's not wrong to say. It's just very incomplete to say. I mean, it's
that's
just
selective breed. Sure,
it's incomplete to say. To take that the extra step and say everything in Brisbane looks like this. No, that's wrong. That's completely wrong to say.
And selectively breeding gets you to a point where it may look nothing like the thing in the wild, especially when you throw morphs in, all that kind of stuff. But like our jungles, that's a great example of, we wanted a certain look for our jungles, and so we bred that. And you can find maybe one that's really nice black and yellow in the wild, but to the extent that we've selectively bred that black and yellow, probably not. You're not going to find one that crazy. You might find one close, but
and I think it is kind of a problem, because especially if you're talking about like Aussie stuff, you can take a quote unquote locale and you can breed it for a while, but eventually you have to outcross it to something that's, now hopefully maybe you can get another line of locale in. Maybe that's not outside of the realm of possibility, but it just seems to be unlikely in the timelines that we work when stuff comes in. It comes in and it's kind of like, this is a thing, and it gets established and it stays a thing until it's almost like we start with this debate of like, is it even reasonable to call that tiger a tiger anymore, or that Brisbane a Brisbane anymore? Right. Because we don't have that regular, and so eventually that locale becomes a line, it has to become a line, and that makes sense to me. But in becoming, and kind of in the same way that it makes sense to me that a locale is more of a phenotype of an area than in the same way that it's more of a line in captivity than a carte blanche phenotype for that area. Did that make any sense?
Yeah,
that was
so.
very convoluted. Sorry, it was like it was wordy.
I feel like you keep setting me up too, because like, like you said, if you focus on a locality, especially for things like, Australian stuff where you have kind of a limited number of animals that are brought over or whatever, or that made it here originally before they were illegal, those kind of things, you're looking at probably relatively few animals, especially for a certain locality. So if you're sticking with the locality, you're inbreeding quite a bit, and down the road that could lead to potential problems. And I think we've seen that with a few, probably boa examples or something. I'm trying to think of, like, once, and that can lead you down a bad path as well. If you're inbreeding over several generations, start finding missing scales or, missing eyes or things like that. So that can be problematic to focus too much on locality, where you don't really have the opportunity to outcross without mixing in a different locality. So, that's tricky to maintain those locality lines without running into that problem.
Well, sure. Well, it's tricky. It's tricky for us. It's not tricky for Australians, but
yeah,
exactly, I mean,
yeah.
it's a matter of geography, right? Like, I mean, our argument to them is stupid, right? But
also for us, I mean, you might have, like, for example, the stuff that's illegally collected within the US, you might get it into the pet trade and it might stay there. And, you might have the feds have an issue with certain projects. I remember they got those leucistic hognose and were trying to confiscate those project animals, and people had spent a lot of money, and the guy got caught, selling things illegally. So they confiscated those animals that people had paid large sums of money for.
Yeah.
But I mean, if there's something that's illegal to collect in the wild, or protected within its range, but there's some in the pet trade, you don't have, it's very difficult to get new blood pumped into those projects potentially. I mean, they can do it illegally, but then you run into those legal issues.
Yeah, right. Well, how?
But the inbreeding becomes a problem when you focus on locality, because how easy is it to go out and find, and you get people that go really, really specific on localities. So you say, Juneau Road, this, it has to come from this road, and they give the mile marker where it was from, so they can show, it's a specific locality.
Well, that's like if you're doing that, I don't even think that's locality as much as that is just like, hey, that's marrying your cousin right there. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's a family member at that point, like that's stupid. That's stupid.
That becomes some fixation for some groups of reptile breeders, where they want that specific locality. And again, it's conflated maybe with the phenotype, and it may have a fairly consistent phenotype, but phenotypes can vary pretty widely within a given area to some extent.
And I mean, I think you could say that locality down to a road or something gives you, more information. But but again, like, I mean, I think of like mangrove monitors. Like there are a lot of different kind of phenotypes for mangrove monitors that I've seen, and they're one that, and I'm not very good at all the phenotypes, but it's like, that's a locality type of thing. And because those get imported, they're out there, you know what I mean? So as long as like I said, it depends on where you're talking about, things coming from, and what the minutia of it matters. Locality, rosy boas in California, well, kind of tough to talk about in captivity, since, the laws are around, reproducing those and keeping those is tough. So
within California.
Within California. Now, outside of California, like,
That seems the craziest thing to me.
It's
where they
stupid.
restrict it
It's
within the
absolutely
state,
stupid.
But I think obviously they're trying to protect from people collecting wild animals and selling them as captive bred, that kind of
Well,
thing.
yeah, and I
promote that.
Yeah, I get that, but how do you think those animals that like get reproduced outside of California can't do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it doesn't make like
no, I mean I can come to your state, get a fishing license, and bring them home and breed them and sell them all day long, but you can't. It's kind of funny.
Exactly. It's just
same with Utah Gila monsters. We can't keep them or collect them, but Colorado next door has them and they breed them.
Well, and I guess maybe I wonder if some of that is, i.e., I start collecting, locality, whatever that's out here, and I'm crazy, so I start reproducing these things, and then I start releasing them in some other area, and so basically, I'm taking, genetic, oh my God, help
locality.
Save me. Yes, sure. Like genetic
you're putting things outside of their areas. I heard that was the case in Cairns area. There's a road where they would go and release all the confiscated jungles, even if they didn't come from that area. So you've got an area
like an amalgamation of
exactly that has several different localities that are just dumped there if they catch them and have to release them. So kind of a strange thing. That may be just some urban legend as well, herp legend, but I can see that could be a problem, and maybe that's another point for me. It's bad to try to breed locality, because if somebody dumps them in a different locality, then what is the locality? You kind of mess up the locality if you do that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, actually, a locality is, if that's where you are, then that's where you are, bro.
Yeah, unless somebody brought a bunch of stuff from I guess we kind of brought this up
so I was born in Indiana, but now that I'm in California, aren't I a California locality human?
You're an Indiana locality, just way out of place,
dude. See,
do humans have localities? We can choose where we live and move and adapt and live in a house. So,
well, nothing's stopping animals just because they are not smart enough to make cars. That's not my fault.
That's true. Or that we still call them Burmese pythons, even though there's no Burma and they live in Florida.
See,
not their fault. We call them Florida pythons,
right? Not
because their locality is Myanmar. Okay.
Yeah, but we don't call them Myanmar pythons anymore.
Yeah. I think another really what impediment to locality breeding and keeping is the whole morph thing. Once you start, trying to strive for morphs or selectively bred individuals, your locality kind of has a
where did
little
fucking
meaning.
Morphs come from?
What?
Where did morphs come from?
Yeah, but who tracks the locality of a morph? That's what I want to know. Have you ever seen like this morph is from this region, and so you only like what ball python? The lesser came from here, so we need to breed it only from other ball pythons from that country. That doesn't happen.
Far be it from me to say that you're conflating two things that didn't have anything to do with each other until you made them have something to do with each other.
Hey, that's how a debate is won, my friend.
Not this debate.
I mean, if you're talking about, if you find some weird mutation, you're going to breed it to anything with the cloaca. You're going to destroy it.
You got to say that crap too now.
Locality garbage.
No, I think I get what I get the way you're trying to steer this, but let's pull this big rig back on the road, buddy.
All right. What you got for me?
So nobody gives a shit about localities for morphs because it's a morph. That's like so the locality is the regional variant. The morph is the morph, right?
Yeah, but when you get a morph into a group, then you start breeding it to anything. Like, say it's an Irian Jaya, it's a morph of the New Guinea carpet python, and all of a sudden you're breeding it to coastals and jungles and inlands to get that trait, that granite or whatever, and then you've all of a sudden got this mishmash of all sorts of subspecies, localities, whatever. That all goes away in pursuit of the morph. That's kind of my point. Is like, morphs.
What does that have to do with locality?
Because they use what would be a locality, what they could keep a pure locality and move it into, just the random female. It doesn't matter what the locality is anymore. So the locality goes away. So, it just messes up localities. So what's the point of
then it just localities?
If somebody's just going to buy it and say it's a jungle, so I'm going to bread it to this other morph. You're just making morphs. You're just making some
gives a shit?
Random conglomeration. Well, if you're a locality keeper, you might.
But if you're a locality keeper,
up the gene pool. There is no pure localities anymore. There's no find me a function.
But that's a function of too many morphs and not enough localities. Not a function of anything to do with locality.
But we're talking about the locality game in general, as far as I can tell from what the topic is. This could mess up localities, right? That's all I'm saying. So if you care about,
but taking localities and breeding them to, you could argue that taking localities and breeding them to whatever could mess up localities, like.
Yeah, so that's the point.
I get your point. You don't have localities anymore. You threw the hot button bad word morph in there so that everyone will be like, he's right. That's right.
Well, no, I mean, show me a pure retic locality. Like there are very, very few mainland retic localities, and now we can't import them. We can't,
But that's because
they've been lost to the hobby. Because people wanted morphs, so they bred their morphs to any locality.
But that's because nobody's importing retics anymore.
Yeah,
and everybody went on the morph. We would
be able to forever.
But
it doesn't matter.
Is it the morph? So morph is a contributing factor, but the real problem is importation.
Well, I mean, importation gives you access to different localities, right? If you can't import them.
And if you can't import them, you can't get access to localities. So what do you do? You're like, fuck it. We'll start breeding morphs.
There's another point for me. Stopping importation ruins locality, makes localities. Who cares, because then you just breed it to whatever you can get.
It's not another point for you. That's ridiculous. You know what? You might as well work in a construction crew and drive a freaking steamroller. What the hell?
Hey, that's how this.
Hey, maybe you'd be a crane operator. You could wrecking ball your way through buildings.
I would like to welcome you to Reptile Fight Club, Chuck.
This is Reptile Bullshit Club right now. You're rick-shotting your way through this. Okay. No, man, I don't agree with you. I disagree with you vehemently about this because importation is the issue. Morphs are okay. Take morphs, put them off to the side. People like morphs. Good for people with morphs, right? Okay. Good. Leave them alone. All right. Yeah. Leave them alone, Justin. Let them do their thing. Okay. All right. Okay. So now that we have morph people over there doing their thing, let's talk about importation. Because if we could be importing things, then locality becomes just fine. We have no issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Can you bow down, Steamroller Man?
Well, no. I mean, you could. We don't import Australian stuff, but we still have localities.
Right, but
it's because a few people cared about them,
right? But going back to the beginning of the conversation, they become bottlenecked, and you have to outcross them because it's not viable long term. Yeah. So if you have any species that you can import and you bring in locality, you can keep that going.
That's if you trust what the importers are saying, because a lot of importers on either end can just say, oh, it's from here because that's the popular locality, right?
Sure.
And that kind of, that's, of course, the green tree python community has always railed on that topic and said, there is no true locality because you're taking the word of an importer and they're out to make money. So they're going to say whatever they want or call it whatever's popular. So, that's an issue with importation and keeping localities pure. Yeah.
I mean, but let's be really frank about what we do.
Yeah.
We take animals out of the wild and we put them in boxes and we breed them and we slap names on them. And even the names that scientists give them are just fucking made up. based
That was
on
last week's
arbitrary qualities we put around them. I mean, we've gotten pretty good. Now we're starting to use genetic material, but even that is like not standardized. At what point is, what percentage is this different from that? Does it make it a thing? Like, so it's at some level, it's all fucking arbitrary, right? And going back, you did say like, oh, in locality green tree pythons, you get variation. Yes, you do. But you also have certain phenotypical things that are consistent for certain localities or certain, generally established localities of green tree pythons, right? Can we agree about that?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean,
oh, here he goes. On your bullshit again.
Oh man, you can't just characterize everything I say that way and have it be true.
Watch me.
Well, listeners, you guys can decide.
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, listen, I'm just here sticking up for myself.
All right.
They don't have to deal with you. I do.
You just seem really upset. Like this isn't personal. This isn't.
I'm
personal,
having fun.
Okay.
I'm having fun.
If you're, I would say that you say locality. All that's the genetics and stuff that can all be made up and stuff. But a locality, somebody can say it's the wrong locality. But if you go out and collect something from a certain locality, that's about as specific as you can get, right?
Yeah, right.
So, the genetics may change, and that's probably.
I guess the other thing I would say too is like now I mean, huh?
Sorry, I'm making a point for you. The taxonomy may change, and if you've bred things across the range that all of a sudden become two different species, then that speaks for keeping localities, separate from other localities.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, if what you're saying is like it doesn't matter, we're just sticking them in an arbitrary box, and none of this really is real.
No. I mean, at some level, that's true. So the point I'm trying to make is don't take it that seriously that it's like, well, if you don't have the GPS coordinates, then you can't possibly say that this is this locale. Yeah. Well, come on, man. Like,
obviously.
Do you doubt that those Brisbane coastals didn't come from the Brisbane area of Australia? Like, why would somebody lie about that? Like, why, like, just call them whatever, like the Port Douglas, like, like what?
Why would a reptile breeder lie about something? Because they're so honest all the time, right?
I get that. And
yeah.
So there's minutia in there as well. And yes, but again, if it's a locality and it looks cool, there's not that much of a reason to misrepresent why. Like it just is where it is, and people will be like, "Oh, that's cool looking. I like that." Right? Nobody's gonna be like, "Oh, it's a, whatever." You know what I mean? That it's the name becomes synonymous with what you like about the locale, right?
That's right. So like a 88% diamond is fine, right? That's as long as it looks like a diamond. Who cares if it's truly a diamond from a specific diamond locality?
Nobody's saying that it can kind of be a coastal carpet pie. I don't.
Well, no, you said if it looks like it's from Brisbane, if it has that phenotype, then that's good, right? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, no. What I'm saying. God, you're such a fucking.
Did I hit a nerve, Chuck?
You didn't hit a nerve, man. You're just being that guy right now. You're just being that guy.
It makes it a lot worse when you can see me too, right? I rattle you. I get in your head, man. I get in your head.
Yeah.
All right.
Have no idea what's in your head.
Tell me how it's okay. Yeah.
Well, look. So, what the point I'm trying to make, and I feel like you're misrepresenting me right now.
Okay.
All right.
Make your point.
So if a coastal carpet comes from the Brisbane area, then it is indeed a Brisbane coastal. whatever that phenotype looks like, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've already established that phenotypes are variable. So not every Brisbane coastal is going to look the same.
Yeah.
But through what we would trust is forthrightness, because it wouldn't make any sense to me, at least, to collect something from one area that has a cool look or is, and then bring it over as something totally different. Like, oh, that's a Brisbane, when it's really not even from that area. Like, why? Now, I could understand if you're like an Indonesian importer, where things come to you from lots of different places and you have no idea who is collecting these things, or it's a thing where, people are just bringing something to a location, or they bring something to you. And so there could be some question as to where it was collected from. But even still, do you think those people who are going out and collecting are traveling those animals hundreds and hundreds of miles to different areas?
Fair point.
I mean, and so the person who's so it's possible that you have an importer who's like, that doesn't sound as cool as if I just say it came from this area and no one will ever know. Like, sure, that's out there, but I don't, I don't have any reason to think that happens on a some type of a mass scale. You know what I mean? I think it's easy to doubt it because of the shiftiness that exists in the reptile world, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the case. Right.
Yeah.
And all these people who are self-doubters, are they out there? Are they in these islands or any of these places looking at these animals? Do they have any idea?
Some do. Don't. Yeah.
Well,
some do.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's, obviously, if you can classify the different green tree pythons as different species or subspecies, then there's something, some kind of characteristic or phenotype or morphology that you can differentiate them. So you can tell an Azuria from a Viridis, right?
And there's like some very clear differences there, like that nobody's arguing about. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I think some of their stuff is like, well, they're all Viridis, and if they came from the Maruki region, then they're probably pretty close by. Yeah, your point is a fair one. I guess I would also kind of say, once you pull it out of the wild, is it really a locality? You stop that evolutionary trajectory of that locality, and you start choosing who it's bred to. You start choosing what babies you hold back and keep that line going. And so you kind of destroy the locality, and even like a species or whatever, that kind of idea. That's something Ben Morrill turned me on to back in the day that I just thought was a hilarious argument. Is like, and it remember that on the boards back in the
for sure. No. And I think that's a valid thing. I think that the intellectual argument for that is a valid thing, right?
His thing was, we're just messing with snakes in boxes. Once you pull it out of the wild, it's not that locality anymore. It's not that.
And I kind of alluded to that earlier. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
So I absolutely agree with that. But at the same time, do those, we'll just keep going back to Brisbane coastals because they're out of the wild. Does that mean that they didn't come from the Brisbane area? Is that not an accurate way to describe them? Does that not give you the descriptive information that you need to make some kind of an understandive point about where those animals occur?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. Would you breed a red tiger to a Brisbane? A red tiger coastal to a Brisbane coastal?
I would, because I'm fucking crazy. But
if you wanted to keep a locality.
Look,
because sometimes the names are confusing, right? A red tigers purportedly came from the Yakapori Depot, which is within the area.
Where is Yakapori Depot?
I heard Eric's, because I looked for it. I don't even know how to spell it, so that's part of the problem. But Eric, in a recent, I think was it the Carpets and Coffee or something? He said that Yakapori Depot was in the Brisbane area. So they're another line of Brisbane's potentially.
How interesting.
Yeah, right. So, giving something a fun little name, like Red Tiger Coastal can conflate things and make you think, oh, I can't breed this Red Tiger Coastal to a Brisbane. That would be messing up the localities when maybe they're the same locality to some extent,
But
or
even if
region at least,
okay, so let's play it both ways. So if Yakapori Depot is in the region of Brisbane, then it's still reasonable to call any offspring from that pairing a Brisbane line coastal, right?
Yeah, if you're not trying to be specific about it, if you're not trying to go the gray band route, and say, no, I only want stuff from Yakapori Depot bred to other Yakapori Depot stuff. Or are you gonna widen your band to say anything in the general Brisbane area? If I find something in Ipswich, if I have an Ipswich locality, it's several miles outside of Brisbane, but it's pretty close geographically, and there's
Hey, stop.
They really didn't like that point.
No.
But there's potentially gene flow between those populations that are in towns that are fairly close to each other. So you could potentially say that I have a locality that covers this geographic area, and that's very ill-defined in most of these things. So it's almost like, what's the point? You could be led to that conclusion. Say, well, as long as it's the same species or subspecies, you can breed it.
Well, and again, these are artificial lines that we're drawing in
my circle's this big. My circle's this big.
Exactly. But again, I mean, I think it's valid. I think, I mean, if subspecies is valid, then locality should be valid. Okay. Right? Like, I mean, like I think they're kind of the same concept of regionality at scales, different scales, right?
Well, and with our changing environment, localities may disappear. You might have regional extinction of a species, and so you might have something in captivity that doesn't have its wild counterpart still left in the wild. Maybe there's a shopping mall, where you collected those animals and they're not there anymore. And that happens a lot throughout the world. As places get developed, things can go out of, be locally extinct or even not found in the state anymore, things like that. So, it's a slippery slope to some extent. So, but then if the locality in the wild is gone, and you can't get any more genes from that area, does it matter if you have it in captivity? I guess that goes back to that invisible arc concept and the debate we had around that. So you may not need to rehash that, but it's something to think about, I guess.
Yeah. And I mean, I absolutely think that, that starts to go into Ben's whole thing about once it's out of the wild, does it even matter? At that point, it's all for us anyway, right? So it's like, yeah, you know what? I got this locality, but there's a shopping mall there now, but I was able to get the locality that's adjacent to it. So I'm calling it this other thing that's like, maybe a bigger area or a different area that's like, really, you know what I mean? Like you can, so to me, and it's so the minutia of the language is important, right? Like, just like a tiger, something that comes from a tiger line that isn't a tiger, not saying it's, not saying tiger, saying tiger line. So so somebody who's not, doesn't understand that, they need the story behind why that is the way it is. And I feel like a lot of this stuff, especially when you're talking about like stuff that has importation barriers, has to have a story behind it, right? And so we tell this story, and at some level, it's interesting to us because, hey, if the story is represented and preserved well, it's an interesting piece of the story of where those animals came from and how they came to be. But does it matter? Because they're not in the wild, and unless you're there doing it, or now it's a shopping mall, like, who cares, right? But I think there is, I think there's some, and I think to me, that's part of where the locality has some reasonableness to it, where, you know, Eric talks about the Yakapuri Depot, and then there's a story behind that, where that is. And, you know, like if you were so into that, maybe you know how that locale came to be, right?
Yeah, and that took some digging, I believe. Like, I don't think that was, I mean, they called them red tigers, which doesn't give you any information on their locality. But when you dig down, I think that's, you know, how they figured that out. And then they found out, well, it's in the Brisbane region, I think. Again, Eric, you need to show me where that is next time I see you or whatever in a PM or something. But I couldn't find it on the map. So
map coordinates, or it didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, this is a treat. I don't know if I have any more points, because frankly, I'm on the like keep it locality kind of attitude, you know. So I mean, I think it's hard to argue against keeping localities, and I like to keep
it kind of has to make sense at some level, though. You know what I mean? I get, like, there's definitely an argument that like at some point locality is stupid, but I you know,
I think we saw that with some of the jungle carpet localities that were coming in from Europe. You know, we had like the Palmerstons and, you know, all these different localities. You don't see those too often anymore. And I think it's because some were ugly. Like they're like, they look like wild types. So people were like, who cares? You know, I want a bright yellow and black jungle. So I don't really care where it comes from. I want to see a pretty snake in a box. Right. And I think that's, you know, to a large extent, even when we do have localities, we try to steer them a certain way so they look better, they look brighter, they look nicer, so people will want to buy them, you know. And I think that's kind of where you run across the line, where it's like, well, who cares if you have a locality if you're just trying to make a nice looking snake? Just breed it to another nice looking snake, and then you're okay. And so,
I mean, I think that's probably where I fall. I certainly like locality. Look, like, I mean,
what did you pick the locality as good side then? I'm just kidding.
No, because I keep winning these coin tosses, and I want to make it a challenge for myself. So I take the losing side.
All right. Well, I don't know. I thought that was the winning side. I was like, oh man, how am I going to do this side? It's hard to argue against the way I feel, you know, in my heart of hearts.
Well, but I mean, I look, all of why I feel the way I feel comes out of people like, you know, shit talking sibs and like, you know, hybrids are bad. And it's like, no, man, come on. Like, you know,
none of this is bad or good necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not repopulating the wild. So,
and there's some badass looking snakes that come out of some of that stuff.
Exactly.
And you don't necessarily
and there's
see it
also
until they're
really ugly looking snakes.
For sure. You're like, oh, what the hell? Sure. Absolutely.
But people grab onto that stuff that produces nice looking animals, and they run with it. And so again, does it cease to be that locality because you're, you know, forcing in a certain direction? That argument could be made. Right. I mean, it's more of an academic argument, because
one could argue like, you know, that any of the jag hybrids like Gamma, you know, like that. Nobody's going to argue that, right? But you could find a trash ass looking, you know, representation of that, and people are like, trash, completely worthless. Like,
but they're not showing it off, you know.
Right? Not, like, wait a minute, man. It's like it's the only difference is how it looks. If it looked badass, like nobody cared about where Andrew Hare's jungles came from, and like the questioning of the purity of that lineage. They're like, those things are hot. I want that.
I want them.
Even to this day, people are like, the black and yellow. That's what I want. Like,
those thin bands, and
I agree with you that people were like the people were like, oh, Palmerston, a locality of jungle, that's cool. And that shit wore off real quick when they didn't turn bright yellow and black in a couple generations, and people were like, yeah, fuck this. I'm not. I don't care. You know what I mean?
Because I can't sell the babies, so therefore the project is worthless. And and you know, I think money and that attitude destroys a lot of more. And maybe that's just particular to the jungle or to the carpet python breeders out there. And you know, we're coming from that's our background, so of course we're going to talk about that. But and it probably is less important with things like tortoises. I don't know. Maybe they do, like, you know, try to select for different sharper looking tortoises, but maybe just having the species is all that matters, or having the locality is all that matters. And so, yeah, it's hard to say.
Yeah, I think it's very species specific and situationally specific. And since carpets are kind of what I know best, that's where I stick. I think that's probably why I use carpets as the example. And I think a lot of people who listen, maybe a lot of people who listen to us also listen to NPR and are also carpet heads. So it makes sense to talk like that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, there's endless, other species and situations where, localities make way more sense than in carpets. Mm-hmm. But I think, carpets are a good example. Talking about locality and carpets is a good, it's kind of the there's some problems here to discuss, and so hashing it out in relation to carpets is maybe a good way to talk about it.
Yeah, because back in the day, the coastals ranged from south of Brisbane clear up to the tip of the Cape York Peninsula, and so you could breed a tip of the Cape York Peninsula animal with a Brisbane and say I've got a coastal, and that probably isn't true anymore.
Exactly. And what does that
when
mean?
Things change.
What does that mean?
When taxonomy changes or has,
and that's the whole point is if taxonomy changed or what we understood about the taxonomic distribution changed, what does that mean for our animals now? Oh my God.
But if your Archer River crossed with a Brisbane coastal glows in the dark, nobody's gonna give a crap. They're gonna breed those all day long.
They're like, that's the hottest shit ever. Like, I love that. Yeah.
And most of those crosses, I guess, to for good or bad, usually turn out worse than both the localities. But some look pretty crazy. I guess I think about
the Rockhampton coastals. Like, I never thought those. They didn't do it for me. Like, they're an accurate representation of coastal. Yeah, but they just don't do it for me. Like, Brisbane's look nice. I
always thought Rockhamptons were jungles. Like, I never really considered them as coastal.
Yeah, I guess that's fair too.
Yeah. So, and again, it depends on and what you're breeding it to, or if you've got the specific look you're looking for, then maybe that's what floats your boat, and that's fine too. But yeah, it's a complicated thing, I guess, but those I'm trying to think what Port Douglas would be with our current thoughts on classification. So that might have to be in a future discussion after the book comes out. But we've seen that happen. The green trees are a great example of that, where everybody just kind of bred whatever to whatever. You see those Arubiacs a lot, the Arubiacs, and they've become, that's a hybrid now because they identified that they're two separate species. And so, and classified them as such. And so, we probably knew that 20 years ago, but just because it wasn't put in a scientific publication doesn't make it not so, so yeah. But to each their own, I guess. It's snakes and boxes. So
yeah.
All right. Well, did we beat this topic into the ground? I'm sure there's probably things we missed or things that other arguments. So if you've got some good arguments for us, let us know.
If you got beef with our beef, bring it.
Yeah, exactly. And I have gotten some good feedback. So we did the show last week with Phil and Casey on taxonomy. You were busy with work for that one, so we missed you on that one. But I got some feedback on that one about bringing some people on that that know a lot
experts
about. And also in the stress debate one too. There's some experts in the field that we could chat about and get some more insight into those topics, because with the taxonomy debate, none of us were taxonomists. With the stress debate, none of us are cortisol researchers.
In case you're not picking it up, we're idiots, folks.
Yeah. I like that podcast Smartless, and I kind of identify with that sometimes. Like, I'm not an expert, but I play one on the podcast, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun to kind of think up the different sides. And, and anybody can kind of talk a good game, but,
sure,
that's why we
there's
like
a
the
lot
experts
of people who talk a good game.
Exactly. Yep. So, and you can sound good to other like-minded people, but
yep.
It's always good to get the experts in here and get their opinions on stuff. So I'd invite any experts in the fields that we're chatting about to get on here and chat.
Loafman.
Yep. Like, come on, Zach. We need you. We need your input.
Put the
not some.
Put the crawfish down.
We don't want some self-identified experts, because they're out there too. They'll give you an earful, tell you how crappy your podcast is.
They will not grace us with their presence.
Yeah, we will not invite them on here.
No.
Well, my friend,
my dogs would shout them down.
Yeah. Are we at an end of this topic?
Oh,
anything
we're
else
done.
you want to throw out there?
Done. Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Well,
give them the outro, Justin.
We don't really kind of put out our information very often. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Sure. I am actually one of the people who's actually still on Facebook. So you can find me, Chuck Poland, on Facebook. And then I have an Instagram, Chuck Norris Wins. It's kind of an amalgamation of my life. So it's not, I'm not one of those people who's just strictly reptiles. Like you can actually find out what a weirdo I am. So those are probably the two best ways to kind of get a hold of me. Cool. And then, now you go.
All right. Justin Julander on Facebook, and also Instagram. I'm JG Julander, and I mostly post pictures of wild animals. So birds, mammals, mostly reptiles, but I throw some birds and amphibians and mammals in there as well. But, and more birds as of late, as I've started taking more pictures of birds and identifying birds. It's kind of fun, but so you can see me there. Australian Addiction Reptiles, australianaddiction.com is my website, and I actually updated it, so you can see some updates there. Got the new books coming out, so thought I'd give a little insight into that, and then put up some new collection pages and stuff. So good time. Some new visit pages. I put up the Texas trip and the Arizona trip. So check out my website. Look at the visits tab, has all the different trips I've been on. Not all of them, but a lot of the herp trips I've been on. So check that out. Yeah, we'll end by thanking the Morelia Pythons Radio Network, Eric and Owen, and their consigliaries. Is that what you say? No, maybe not.
It's concierges.
I have no clue, but I don't know why I said that. But they're interns. We'll call them interns. That help them out with the stuff. But check out Morelia Python.
Can't they be like undergraduate students by now? Like, right? I feel like they're like, you know what I mean? They're not quite interns. Like they actually are like, they're helping, more. They're like contributing more than like just an intern. Like, you know what I mean? Like the intern's the one you treat like shit and like you don't care about, but like, your undergrad. Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah, he's always bad mouthing those poor interns. So. Lucas and Riley, you got to ask for a raise, I guess.
That's right. That's right.
Title change at least.
All
right. Check out Morelia Pythons radio.com and check them out on all the social media sites. I think that does it for us. We at the end of another fight. Check us out next week for another episode of Reptile Fight Club.
Hot damn, hold tight for another one.
Fight Club.